This is Rob Tubman for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined as always by Steve Goodwin, manager, promoter, matchmaker extraordinaire, Steve Goodwin. I'm also joined today by Richard Powers and Jenny. Is it Jenny Powers?
Yeah, Jenny Powers, yeah.
That could have been really awkward if it wasn't Jenny Powers, couldn't it? So I'm glad it was. And we're here today to talk about something a little bit different, to give a little bit of insight into a new initiative, or Get Set Go Sport. Is that the one?
That's correct.
So it's a bit of a mouthful, guys, so it's difficult for me to remember, but that is the initiative. Jenny and Richard, why don't you just give us a little bit of a backstory and an insight into your initiative and just basically the origins of it.
Well, Get Set Go Sport, it was set up in 2012, initially as a sports providing company. We specialised in alternative sports. Instead of like your football and your rugby and all of that, we specialised in archery and dodgeball and other sports like that. But really at the core of it was always boxing. Now, we went on through boxing to set up our first educational boxing academy, Hammersmith Boxing Academy, set up in West London College. Now, this academy, it was different to a lot of the other boxing academies in the area because it is based around education. So what would happen, you wouldn't just go in there and learn the skills of boxing, but you would also learn the skills of boxing coaching and everything that goes with it. So that took off really, really well, and it's just really expanded from there. So we've actually now got 3 boxing academies in London. So we've got Hammersmith Boxing Academy, Barnet and Southgate, and Newham, and they're all doing fantastically well at the moment. So we were looking into alternative ways of how to actually expand this and make it even more beneficial to our students, and how we could add on to this. And that's when we thought of maybe getting in contact with Steve Goodwin and seeing what other avenues we could do. So it's not just now the basic boxing academy that we've got through amateur boxing, but now the students also have another avenue to go through to professional boxing.
And Richard, just before we switch over to Steve to talk about Get Set Go Sport with him, you mentioned there, Jenny, that boxing was kind of always a focus, and it's something that's actually very topical at the minute, obviously with the government bailouts and boxing kind of not being included in that. What is it about boxing that kind of goes so well alongside education? The obvious things, discipline, of course.
I mean, we use boxing as a tool. So I worked for the Met Police, formerly in West London, so based in Hammersmith and Fulham. I used boxing as a tool to draw the kids in. And it was that kind of thing where if you was part of probably a gang or hanging around the council estate, boxing was used as a drawing, as a caller sport. So if I went around and had a couple of sticks and said, let's play some golf around, let's do a bit of putting around the housing estate, it's not cool. Boxing has that hook. Boxing's cool. So it's that kind of thing that we found that worked really well. So we started our programs in Hammersmith and Fulham, and it was supposed to be us doing some pads and that in the room, and that was it really. It was just pen to paper, little project, get it signed off by the borough commander, engagement with the police, people behind the uniform, kids engaging with us, and just basically diverting youth away from low-level crime, antisocial behaviour. Within that period of time, we ended up having a fully functional club in our first season and having our first national champion in 2011, which won the national novices. Now it's called the Development Championships. And that was it. We was bitten by the bug, really, and we saw it was a draw. Everyone wanted to come through that door down in Fulham, and it done really well. And then obviously colleges were interested in what we did, and loads of people from schools, colleges, universities, youth clubs wanted us to provide a service. So just as I said, an alternative sport that they didn't see in that area or that borough. So you could go to a housing estate, rock up with obviously some pads and gloves and get the kids to put them on and hit the pads and gloves, and they feel great. Get rid of that sort of aggression and that anger, and a bit of a workout as well. And it was really good. So it was like pop-up boxing clubs we put around Hammersmith and Fulham. And then just the door opened with this educational thing, and we thought, okay, there's definitely a pathway there for these young people to go to. Because the kids that we tend to cater for might not want to go to college. They might not want to be academic. So the option there is that the draw is boxing, come to the college to take part in boxing and learn how to become a coach, get your further education through BTECs, A levels, MVQs, and us doing like 8 hours of curriculum boxing, and then therefore they've got a pathway to go to higher education, or they could go into full-time employment being self-employed PT coach. They could further their boxing career, enhance that, or go down the avenue now with Steve Goodwin in regards to obviously the professional pathway.
Now, Steve, just going to bring you in here. It's obviously a story that we've heard numerous times throughout, not recent years, but since the start of boxing. That boxing gives people structure. It gives people, an avenue into. It doesn't have to be professional boxing. It could be any other thing. There's a lot of transferable skills. What was it about this in particular initiative that attracted you, Steve?
Well, first, it's the people involved. I mean, Richard and Jenny are good people, and they're doing it for the right reasons, and they've really done a fantastic job with it. And their vision, when they spoke to me originally, the vision was something that really fell in line with something that we like. I mean, we think that when the thing about this sort of association is that Richard and Jenny and the Go-To Sports brand can be associated with us, which is we consider to be a very good brand. There's nothing bad about the brand. It's good, it's ethical, it's decent. And we're able then to mentor these young people and help to mentor them, not only in the boxing world, where we can, if they do want to transition into the professional sporting world, we can mentor them and guide them so that they're not going to make any serious mistakes when they do it, but also with our skills in the real world, even the financial world. If any of these young lads try and set up as a PT, or they need help of, some help in how to do it from a financial perspective and setting up their business and stuff like that, we can help them in that as well. So the assistance that we can provide them is really lifestyle, and boxing is part of that. And we're really able to deliver all of that because of the skill sets in the boxing and outside. And we think that this relationship and the team that we're building here is going to be fantastic. The kids are going to be able to come to our boxing shows, so they're going to be able to watch professional boxing firsthand. They're going to be able to, and that's not going to be, we're not charging them to come, they're going to be able to come. So anybody that's involved in this is going to be able to come to our shows. And it's just going to be something that's going to enable them to really get a lot more out of it than they otherwise would. And we're only doing it because the brand is so good. We get approaches from companies to hook up with all the time, but it takes a very special company and a very special unit for us to want to nail our colours to the mast. And we found that, and we think that this is going to be a very exciting time ahead.
Very exciting time indeed. Just going back to Richard and Jenny about what you said about kind of the pop-up boxing clubs and how it started and how it's taken off. It all sounds very exciting. Could you have imagined it kind of developing this way when you first started?
No, it just snowballed, didn't it, really?
It did, yeah.
When we started, we knew there was a demand for it, but we didn't realise how big that demand was. And we worked alongside, the local councils and things, didn't we? And they just absolutely loved the idea of it. We've worked in different areas of the community in London, and we make it so very inclusive. The pop-up clubs, we had female-only clubs, didn't we? We had junior clubs, adult clubs, disability,
yeah.
And we're also working with mental health now as well.
Yeah.
So, there's so many avenues that boxing can outreach to people. There's just such a demand for it, and there's a real interest in it as well, which is fantastic.
So if I was a young man, I'm not, certainly not as young as I used to be, and I was looking to get involved in the Get Set Go Sport initiatives and academies, boxing academies, how would I go about doing that?
So at the moment, we're actually recruiting for next year, academic year. So we've got a massive cohort at the moment. We've got about over close to 90 students on our programme in London, all taking part in the boxing academies with the 3 colleges we work with. So we'll be rolling out our next enrolment for the next academic year, and that will be where they'll come down to the college, obviously look at the courses that are provided. So we do only 8 hours of curriculum boxing. The rest they have to do through the college, through their BTEC A levels and stuff. So it'll be open days and trials that we have, and that will be advertised on our Get Set Go Sport website, and also through the colleges we work with, which will be West London College, Barnet and Southgate College, and Newham College. We are expanding as well, so we are looking at a boxing academy down in South London very soon, and we're also looking at Cornwall and Devon as well. So we are expanding across down south.
Probably one of the obvious questions that I always ask pretty much every fighter this year, but I haven't asked you yet, is how COVID has affected what you've been doing. How has that been impacted on your work this year?
Regards to academics, we were a little bit worried because obviously the college setting with education and obviously close contacts and stuff. But we adopted obviously the government guidelines and the NGB guidelines regards to training. So we do have, luckily enough, we can train. It's capacity with regards to obviously 2 meter squares,
limit
numbers and stuff, and then break it down into pods where everyone used to train in one big gym. We break it down in half in the classroom now and half in the gym, and we rotate that round now. So we've changed our timetable. We've also gone on to remote learning, online learning as well. So we do the Zoom and all the other tools that we have. So we actually do some lectures via Zoom online with our coaches, and we also do some sessions online as well. Some people don't like it because obviously they like the face-to-face and hitting the pads, hitting the bags and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it's only gone to technical work, bag work. We can't do pads or spar, and we haven't been allowed to do that since March. So hopefully looking forward to the vaccine working and hopefully getting out there in March, and hopefully the NGB will allow us to continue with sparring, pad work and then competition, hopefully.
Just going back over to you now, Steve, now that you're back, you did a little disappearing act, magician. Boxing at the minute, as I mentioned at the start of the interview, it's very much in the public eye because it's kind of not in the public eye. We've not been the recipient of, government bailouts, rightly or wrongly, recently. But what do initiatives like this show about our sport, not only with regards to keeping physically fit or mentally fit, but also, acquiring educational skills alongside that can prepare you for a life outside of boxing?
This is the sort of thing that would and should attract government funding, the good side of the sport. We've had, the boxing itself, you've got to remember that these other sports that they're giving it to, badminton, judo, they're not involved in, they don't see sports of big, heavy court cases of, like we've just seen in Belfast. You don't get MPs standing up and making allegations about the sport. You don't, this is the bad stuff. This is the reason we're not getting the funding, and it should be down at grassroots level. And organisations such as this is why I'm excited about working, because we want to make sure that these organisations, this is what's good about the sport, what's good about boxing. We need to get this stuff out there. And this is where, hopefully, in future times, it's not going to happen this time, that governments will realise what a good thing it is. And we're not going to get the bad press. We're going to get the good press about the good things that we do. Because boxing does so many wonderful things for the community and for society. But it's clouded in the bad stuff and the allegations of other stuff that goes on that really demeans the sport. And that's, in my opinion, why the government's not giving us money.
Back to you, Richard and Jenny. I'm fascinated to ask, forgive me for saying it, for asking normal people why they have an interest in boxing. What was it that inspired you to come to, as Steve rightly says, our slightly different sport, so to speak? Have you always been boxing fans? Was it something that you kind of picked up as and when you carried on?
Yeah, I said I've always been boxing. I used to box when I was a younger lad. I didn't compete to a capacity or a level, but I enjoyed it down when I did do it. And I used it as, to me, it got me out of trouble. I was a bit of a naughty toe rag, and that kind of thing was the sport that I engaged with, actually drew me away from obviously the crowd that would have got me in trouble, and I enjoyed that. And I think that's where it sort of rang a bell when I worked for the police, that I thought it's an ideal tool to use just to draw people away and get kids engaged and stuff. So yeah, I just liked it as a tool. I think like the power of sport is said just had to have a tool. It could be any sport really, depending on how you offer it. But I think boxing at the time was just a popular thing. 2012 was knocking on the door. We had obviously Nicola Adams, we had Anthony Joshua doing well, and obviously the team. And it was just brilliant. And then I said I went into coaching. I started coaching then through the police and getting my badges, my level 1, my level 2, and then Jen got my wife involved, and she ended up going for it.
It wasn't until I was in my late 20s I actually took an interest in boxing as an amateur sport. You always enjoyed the professional on the telly, but as an amateur sport, I had no clue. It's only Richard kind of dragged me into it. I was into my fitness anyway. I was learning, doing my fitness instructing course and all of that. So I thought, let's give it a go, see what happens. And it turned out to be a fantastic sport really for the community. It improved my coaching skills immensely, just taking part in the boxing club, and then I went on to do my level 1, level 2, and I took a real passion for it. And then once I'd completed my qualifications, I thought, you know, we can actually do something with this. There is a demand for it. And then Get Set Go Sport was born. So yeah, it's all stemmed from there, really.
I think, touching on what Steve mentioned earlier, I think boxing's great, and boxing as a sport, professionally and amateur, is great. But what they do well as grassroots is the social inclusion side of it. It's not just the amateur part of it. Amateur's great and what we do as a level, but there's also another side of it with around mental health, working with disability, working with Parkinson's, doing knife crime projects, doing the Fit and Fed projects where kids obviously, again, during half-term holiday don't have obviously free school meals, and we've been doing this for years. The Fit and Fed program across the country as an NGB with some clubs, etc. So it's that kind of thing where boxing, it's an individual sport, but when you come together, your community, and that's what I like about it. You get all different walks of life coming through your gym. You have people from housing estates, you have people who've got ASBOs, you have people, solicitors, police officers, you have all walks of life, and they all come in and they all get along as one big family. And that's what I like about it, really. It's just the characters that bring to boxing. It's great.
Yeah, just to echo that, I mean, boxing, it's the only sport off the top of my head, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments, as they often do, where you can shadow box for free. It doesn't cost you any money to stand in front of a mirror. Well, you have to buy a mirror, but stand in front of a mirror and shadow box and work out. And as you say, from people from all walks of life, all classes and creeds and what have you, can go into a boxing gym and feel included. Okay, guys, look, I'm really excited about the project. Anything that I can do at Boxing Social to help you guys, please, please, please don't be shy of letting me know. I know Steve certainly won't be shy of giving me a call, and I would for him to do so. Before I let you go, guys, I just want to give you the floor, really. What message have you got to fans of the sport, for people maybe who aren't even fans of the sport, who are looking to come to boxing for the first time, maybe don't have, they're not good at school, they're not getting the education and the opportunities that they feel they need, and they want to try something else? Richard, Jenny, the floor is yours.
Well, the message really is just to come and try it, come and see if it's something that they'd be interested in. I mean, it's fantastic for the young people, because if they're not, that, what's the word, academic, at least they can still come to college, they can, focus on their boxing skills, they can do the boxing academy, but then while they do that, they have to do their academics as well, and it all fits in together. Really, it's all about education, isn't it? That's the whole part of it. It's boxing alongside education, and to give them a head start in life, really.
Yeah, I think the jury said they may not, these young people they work with may not have considered college. They may have sort of just floated away, probably got into the system, etc. With this, they could actually come to the college, their support, and we will help them. We help them with obviously their English and maths. We help them progress onto obviously further education. We're proud to say that some of them have gone to university for our program. Some of them are actually working full-time employment with us now. Some of them actually gone and started their own businesses through PTing and stuff like that. And some of them are actually gone on to win national titles and continuing their career. Some of them decided now to actually look at the professional route. So, the doors are open. They said it's not all about obviously becoming a boxer. It's all about becoming a coach or a boxer, or if you want to have an insight within the sporting industry, especially boxing.
Okay, it wouldn't be right not to give the final word to Steve. He likes to get the final word in our conversations. Steve, what final message have you got? And I'm sure you're just willing to echo the powerful words of Richard and Jenny there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a really exciting time. We're going to help Richard and Jenny develop what they're doing in any way possible, even if it means that we go and give talks to some of the kids at some point, because I think that's important. And it doesn't always just have to be about boxing. So, because I often try and inspire people in life to do well for themselves, not necessarily just in boxing. So it's something that I'm really keen on. It's a subject that I just think if it's done right, that we can really make a difference. And this is what life's about. I think life isn't about making, it's not, okay, we've got to make enough money to live, but make money, live a nice life. But if you can make a difference to people's lives, then that's worth more than any money. And with what they're doing and what I think we can add to it, I think we can all do that together. I think it's going to be a really exciting time.
Okay, well, very well said, as always, Steve. Just to vouch for that, he does always try and improve people. He's forever telling me to have a shave and get in shape. Before I let you guys go, I just want to again echo the words that I've said so far. Everybody, please, please, please look into Get Set Go Sport, the boxing academies, and follow them, support them. Richard and Jenny Powell, thank you very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Steve Goodwin, always a pleasure catching up with you too, my friend. I'm sure I will speak to you very soon. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.